I'm Tim McVeigh, Vice President and General Manager of WSB TV Channel 2. Metro Atlanta faces some tough decisions in the coming year, decisions that will impact Georgia for generations. So Channel 2 Action News, along with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, brought local leaders together. Tonight, they identify real solutions to three major problems facing our state: traffic, education, water. Coming up next, Atlanta Forward. I invite you to stay with us.
Tonight, a look at three major problems facing Atlanta and our state in the coming months.
Some new trouble reported on the outer loop.
Bumper-to-bumper Atlanta traffic is maddening for daily commuters. In 2012, voters will decide on a penny sales tax that would reduce congestion. The business community says our traffic mess is driving companies away from Atlanta.
If we want to continue to be the economic engine of the Southeast, we've got to fix our traffic problems.
But in a bad economy, voters are in no mood for more taxes. Polls show only 1 in 3 would vote for it.
In this economy, no one wants their taxes raised, even if it's 1 cent.
Also, how will Georgia recover from a cheating scandal that tainted the integrity of our entire educational system? It made national headlines and could also hurt our economy.
We've had companies that were interested in moving here that say, explain this to us. We've read things about this in the national press.
And we have plenty of rain, but are facing water shortages. There are some unique solutions you've probably never heard about. Three major problems facing our city in 2012, and possible solutions to keep Atlanta moving forward. Here are Channel 2's Justin Farmer and Jovita Moore.
Good evening and welcome to Atlanta Forward. I'm Jovita Moore.
I'm Justin Farmer, and for the next hour, we're going to take an in-depth look at three major issues that could help push Atlanta ahead or stall this region's forward progress.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution kicked off a series this morning examining our traffic, education, and water challenges. Reporter Dan Chapman is here with us to dig deeper into these issues. We're also joined by a panel of community and business leaders who will help us examine potential solutions over the next hour in three key areas.
Georgia 400 delayed through Sandy Springs.
And then you really hit the brakes.
285 northbound, starting to see your typical delay.
Time is money. Local leaders say traffic is a major reason many companies considering moving here look elsewhere.
Traffic is the #1 argument that our competitors use against us.
In July 2012, we'll decide whether to vote for a 1-cent special local option sales tax that would raise an estimated $7 billion over the next 10 years for transportation projects.
Is this a turning point for our region? I mean, is it that big?
Oh, it's that big. It's that big.
We'll look at some of the major road and transit projects on a list being considered right now.
The good news is this is going to tell people exactly how the money will be spent. It's nothing, give the money to government and trust them.
And the opponents already organized and prepared to fight.
In this economy, no one wants their taxes raised, even if it's 1 cent.
Plus, we'll take you to Denver to show you what happened when that city asked voters to pass a similar tax. Also in 2012, Atlanta will have to deal with the continued fallout of the cheating scandal that has tainted the integrity of our entire public school system.
We found cheating in 44 of the 56 schools we examined.
It's a scandal that can have a financial ripple far outside the city limits. We'll look at some short-term and long-term solutions for change. Finally, the last major issue challenging Metro Atlanta in 2012, our water supply, and finding a way to settle the ongoing water dispute with our southern neighbors. Plus, are reservoirs even the answer?
If we can attack those problems and be successful in addressing them, then there's unlimited potential for the city.
As Atlanta moves forward, many community leaders believe voters will make one of the most important decisions of all.
They're going to be deciding whether to approve that 1-cent special sales tax for major transportation improvements. And we went through the list. Congested highways, daily gridlock. Yet mass transit doesn't go far outside the city of Atlanta.
We had a huge conversation about transportation in our state. We ended up getting the most forward-thinking transportation bill in modern Georgia's history.
It's the Transportation Investment Act, passed by the legislature this year. Mayor Kasim Reed says the 1-cent sales tax is crucial for Atlanta's next phase of prosperity.
Traffic is the #1 argument that our competitors use against us.
The penny tax would fund improvements for transit, from light rail to more expressway lanes, new engineering for bottleneck areas, even pedestrian and bike paths.
It seems like transit is an answer to this.
Right now, local leaders are working on a list of proposed projects, including enhancing the Atlanta Beltline, widening Windy Hill Road in Cobb, and major improvements to Buford Highway in Gwinnett near Sugarloaf Parkway. The list, to be whittled down for a ballot, is from the 10-county area of Metro Atlanta.
Those counties represent probably about 4 million people, and those are the ones probably more stuck in congestion. They have more frustration than anybody else.
Long is working with a roundtable of 21 local leaders, mayors representing each county as well as each county chairman. The final list will be ready in October, hoping to win support from voters and create some $7 billion to move the whole metro area forward.
The person who doesn't really use the transportation network, that doesn't drive a car, guess what? If they buy food, it gets here on the network.
Other proposals on the list are mass transit from Perimeter to Doraville and DeKalb, the widening of Windward Parkway in North Fulton, and restoring bus service in Clayton County.
63% of people who live in Metro Atlanta work in some other county than where their home is.
That means if you live in Cobb County, you're voting for improvements there as well as the area you work in every day.
We need to make this one be a real home run for us.
And what hangs in the balance? Our economic viability?
Oh, absolutely.
Other proposals from Cherokee to Henry include improvements along Georgia 140 and Bells Ferry Road, widening McDonough Road to Terra Boulevard. Area leaders want the public's input before submitting the final list. And while negotiations will be tough, they say failure is not an option.
If we don't pass it, then we've really made a decision about what direction we want to go. We've decided that we want to be smaller and that we want to enter a period of decline. And that's really what this is about.
So let's now begin our discussion. Sam Williams, I'm going to direct the first question to you. Right now, the polls are showing that only about 35% of voters would actually support this penny tax. We know that millions of dollars are being raised right now to help with the marketing campaign. Do you think that that is the answer? More money thrown into a marketing campaign to make voters change their minds so that you get a 51% next July to vote for this tax?
I don't think it's to change their mind. I think it's to educate them about what's in the project list, what will benefit them. I think voters are very naturally concerned about, will this improve my life? Will this help me get a job? Will this make it shorter for me to get to work? Can I get to my daughter's second quarter of basketball game instead of the fourth quarter? So I think it's all about what people really want in their own lives. I don't think it's trying to convince them of something that they wouldn't want. And we've seen that from other cities. We've seen this in Phoenix and Denver, Salt Lake. The public needs to know, and that's what we're really trying to do.
Mayor Reed, we learned in traveling to Denver that it was a governor and a mayor working together, and it was that marketing plan that was funded by the private sector, a marketing plan that in their second effort, they finally did get a sales tax passed. So the question is, I believe that very recently you were working with the governor. You all are raising money now in the private sector, correct? How's that going?
Oh, well, it's going well. We really have decided that we don't have time for intramural games. So we don't really have time right now for partisanship. This is an issue that is really about what the future of the state of Georgia and the future of the city is going to be. So what we've decided to do is that we're going to work at this problem hard because it is one of the 3 biggest threats to the city of Atlanta and one of the 3 biggest threats to the state of Georgia. So this is a point in time where the interests of the capital city of the state and of the state of Georgia and its leader are aligned, and we're going to do absolutely everything we can to succeed.
I want to direct the next question to Julianne Thompson. You are here representing the Georgia Tea Party Patriots. Of course, Tea Party Patriots drive on our roads. They get on the connector. They live in all parts of Georgia. Do you think that there's any way that the party would support this vote next July?
We believe that solutions lie in other ways and not through T-Splost.
All right.
So I don't believe that you're going to get the Tea Party on board with the T-Splost.
What would be a specific solution?
Well, there are many solutions. I think you can just look at what Governor Rick Perry has done in Texas. Land use plans that support future growth in the metro area and not development that increases already strained transportation in and out of high-density work centers. tax credits to companies that allow 50% of their employees to telecommute. There's no mass transit system in Redmond, Washington, home to Microsoft. Microsoft has van pools that regularly pick employees up at stops. There are many, many solutions. Toll roads, we definitely would support something like that, where the funds would be specifically directed toward paying for road construction and improvements, new lanes, etc., so that the people that actually use the road would be paying for it.
All right. Thank you for your input. Now, supporters of the tax say one city is proof that this is a solution that works.
I traveled to Denver, Colorado to see what happened after voters there said yes.
It's a far cry from summer in Atlanta, Rocky Mountain National Park. Head down the mountains, and there sits the city with lessons Metro Atlanta leaders need to know about the future of mass transit.
We looked all across the country to try to find if another city had already been through what Atlanta's about to go through, hold a public referendum to fund the next generation of public transportation. Well, our journey brought us here to Denver, Colorado.
Lee Kemp is the chairman of the board of RTD, Denver's Regional Transportation District. He says Denver can share plenty about when it asked voters to pass a sales tax to fund their Fast Tracks initiatives in 2004.
The most important thing is keeping everybody informed. Everybody's important in this. I don't care if it's the smallest municipality or smallest area.
Denver formed a task force of elected leaders, similar to the one created here. The group kept the public informed about projects and managed expectations.
For the first few years, it's a lot of, identifying where does the track go, what impacts is it going to have on the community.
Denver's first phase of Fast Tracks is taking 9 years to complete, but that doesn't mean there isn't a lot of excitement and activity.
I lived in Denver 7 years ago, and then this was not a very good part of town. This was a barren field. As you can see now, it's the height of construction activity, and eventually this will be the transportation hub for Denver.
Outside of Denver, Atlanta's one of my favorite cities on earth.
Meet the man behind Denver's Fast Tracks. Before John Hickenlooper was governor of Colorado, he was mayor of Denver and pushed hard for voters to approve a penny sales tax like the one being considered here.
We went out and did studies and measured from every part of the city, worked out to rough justice about a penny a minute. And people says my time with my family, if I could spend, would I spend 60 cents a day to spend an extra hour either with my family or at work?
And the future is looking bright. Several companies, including one in healthcare and software, are moving their headquarters to Denver, in part due to the investment in transit.
Companies want easy access to employment bases, so if all you give them is a highway that's congested every day, they may not go there.
And it's not just business, but housing and millions of square feet of retail space ready to pop up. RTD General Manager Phil Washington says it's a matter of people looking to the future and a more efficient way of life.
They do understand that the two biggest expenses in any household is housing and transportation. And so if you cut down the cost of that transportation, people understand that. Transit, I believe, will be a got-to-have in future years.
But we also learned while there that Denver has had its share of issues. It hadn't been perfect. For example, they overestimated revenues. They blamed the recession, and some projects are behind schedule. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution also examined Denver's transit system.
AJC reporter Dan Chapman is here with us with another question now for our panel. Dan.
I'd like to ask this of Lee Tad with the Atlanta Regional Commission. I guess what I'm trying to get a grasp on is out in Denver, it was largely sort of a mass transit mix, whereas here I know we have yet to fully finalize what our mix will be. But do you think that their mix, that their emphasis on mass transit is perhaps the best way to go for future economic development, as well as for the future livelihood of their city?
Well, mass transit is clearly going to have to be part of any long-range solution for Atlanta. Right now, we have mass transit serving essentially two counties, Fulton and DeKalb, in the city of Atlanta. And some of our fastest growing and most populous counties don't have a rail-based or a light rail-based transit solution. So, yes, the vote for the T-Splosh is going to have to include transit, and any long-range solution for this region is going to have to include transit. However, unlike Denver, I think that we're still facing some serious challenges as far as road congestion is concerned as well in this region. So I think what you'll see the roundtable coming forward with is a balanced approach that makes some significant initial investments in transit and make some significant investments in road improvements that improve bottlenecks and immediately improve people's commute times, which include quality of life. And I want to make the point that this T-Splost is not meant to be the long-range solution for all of the problems. It's a big step in the right direction.
Give me a percentage. What do you think? 60-40, 50-50, 70-30? I think a lot of folks out there want to know what they're going to be dealing with.
Well, at the ARC, the roundtable at their last meeting considered 3 possible scenarios. One is a 40% transit, 60% roads. One is a 50-50. And one is the opposite, 60% transit, 40% roads and other.
I think the balance, the right balance is going to be about 60% transit, because if you add in TIP projects, transportation improvement money, those dollars actually significantly shift to road improvements. So if you add in TIP, the general dollars we already spend on transportation, put it in a huge pool, our investment in mass transit is going to relieve pressure on the TIP. It's going to relieve pressure on those other revenue sources. So that means that at 60%, transit would actually be at about 35 to 40% of all of the dollars. So I think 60% to 55% with regard to the round table is probably the right mix, and that's going to be subject to a great deal of debate.
Coming up, Atlanta's cheating scandal made national headlines. The potential impact on a city trying to grow and prosper. And proposed changes to mass transit to help Atlanta move forward. We're asking our panel of experts what solutions make sense. Next.